I never thought the woman I married would one day look me in the eyes and compare me to her ex, the same man who once treated her like trash. But that night changed everything. It started with a strange shift in her behavior. Amanda was no longer present. Her hugs felt forced. Her phone never left her side, and her late-night work calls became more frequent. I stayed silent, watching, collecting the pieces. I wasn't the kind of man to react without knowing the full picture. One night, while she was in the shower, a notification lit up her phone screen. "I miss your body. Tonight." My chest tightened, but I didn't confront her. Instead, I read through the thread, and the truth hit like a truck. She had been sleeping with her ex, Jake, the same toxic guy she swore she was done with. But the real blow came the next morning, during a pointless argument over breakfast. I remained calm as she ranted about how boring I was, and how Jake was a real man, one who knew how to take charge, unlike me. She didn't know I had already seen the messages. She didn't know I had a plan. I said nothing, just nodded. That day, I moved quietly. I took screenshots, transferred our joint funds, legally, thanks to a prenup she never cared to read, and scheduled a meeting with my lawyer. I called her boss, who I happened to know well through business, and sent him a curated set of her late-night work photos. Let's just say her professional world crumbled as fast as her lies. That evening, she returned home to a cold, dark apartment. Everything of mine was gone. My clothes, my car, my laptop disappeared like I never existed. All that remained was a note on the kitchen counter. "Hope you're a real man, can pay the bills. You'll need it." She blew up my phone for days. Calls, texts, tears, threats. I didn't answer. I had already vanished. Changed my number, relocated, started fresh. No confrontation. No shouting. Just silence, my loudest revenge. Funny thing, a month later, I heard Jake dumped her again. This time for someone even younger. She lost her job, her lifestyle, and the man she thought was her upgrade. And me. I'm living better than ever. Peaceful, successful, and finally free. Weeks passed. The silence wasn't just a punishment, it was closure. I watched from afar, never revealing myself, but word spread fast in our circles. Amanda had been let go from her job due to inappropriate conduct, and was now struggling to maintain rent on the apartment I once paid for. Jake, her so-called real man, had ghosted her just a few days after I disappeared. Turns out, he wasn't interested in playing stepdad to a crumbling life. She tried to twist the narrative. Friends we once shared received teary messages about how I had abandoned her and acted without warning. But people knew. I made sure the truth existed in the right places, without fanfare, without drama, just facts. Even her own family was disappointed in her. One day, I got a message from her best friend. It simply read, "She cries every night. Keeps saying she made the biggest mistake of her life." But that wasn't my concern anymore. I had relocated to another city, started a new job, and built a quiet life surrounded by people who didn't know her name. I wasn't bitter, I was free. She thought I'd crumble. Instead, I thrived. Sometimes I wonder what went through her mind the moment she walked into our empty home. Maybe she realized too late that what she lost wasn't just a partner, but the kind of man who would have stood by her through anything. But she chose differently, and I gave her exactly what she asked for. A real man's goodbye. A few months later, while sipping coffee at a quiet lakeside cafe, a familiar voice broke my peace. "Aiden!" I looked up. It was Amanda. She looked different. Not the confident, polished woman I once knew. Her hair was a mess, dark circles under her eyes, and she wore the kind of clothes you throw on when you've stopped caring how you look. Her expression was one of disbelief, like she never expected to actually find me. I didn't think I'd ever see you again," she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. I stayed silent. She sat down uninvited. "I've lost everything. Jake used me and left. I got evicted last month. No job, no friends. Not even my parents talked to me. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I was stupid. I didn't know what I had." I took a slow sip of my coffee. I was angry. I thought I needed more. I thought Jake. I don't know what I was thinking. But the day I came home and you were just gone, I felt like I died. Still, I said nothing. I didn't know her my pain. I didn't know her anything. Tears welled up in her eyes. "Can we please just talk? Try again." That's when I finally spoke. You didn't just cheat, Amanda. You compared me. You humiliated me. And the moment you said he was more of a man than me, you made your choice. She reached for my hand, but I pulled it away. You were right, I added calmly, standing up. Jake was a real man. Real enough to show you who you truly were. Without waiting for a response, I walked away. No anger. No regrets. That was the last time I ever saw her. And that, right there, was my final revenge, walking away completely healed, while she stayed broken in the mess she made. Months turned into a year. By then, I had settled into a life that felt like it had never included Amanda. I had moved to a coastal town. Now, I don't check for updates. I don't ask about her. I don't care if she's still struggling or if Jake crawled back. That part of my life is a closed book. What I do care about is what I've built. A quiet, honest love. A home without secrets. Peace that doesn't come and go with a ringtone. I've become the man I always wanted to be, and I did it without proving anything to the woman who once laughed in my face. My revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't explosive. It was invisible and permanent. I gave her everything she asked for. And then I disappeared. So completely that the only reminder I ever existed is the silence she still hears at night.